I got 11.
Yeah. It is? Yeah.
Good evening, board members and residents. I'd like to call to order our regular board meeting and public hearing for Monday, February 8th, 2016. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Batanti?
Here.
Mr. Brado?
Here.
Mr. Capral?
Here.
Mr. Tominello?
Here.
Mr. York is asked to be excused. Mr. Witt, here. Mr. Verkust?
Here. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, including the approval of the regular board meeting minutes from January 25th, 2016, approval of the bills in the amount of $577,979.98, and approval of the payment for the 2015 state and county 800 megahertz radio licensing fees in the amount of $3,787.50.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the bills in the amount of $577,979.98.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Tominello with support by Mr. Capral to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion, board members? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is the approval of the regular agenda. I didn't hear any proposed amendments, so I'd be looking for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Batanti with support by Mr. Brado to approve the agenda as presented. Discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Next is announcements. We have a few announcements. Actually, I guess one announcement. I guess it would be in 1 month, but literally 4 weeks from tomorrow, is an election, March 8th, Tuesday, March 8th. The election will include a few issues. The presidential primary is on the ballot, and there's also two millage questions. The non-homestead millage renewal for the L'Anse Creuse Public School District is on the ballot, and also a safety millage for Harrison Township regarding police and fire. Just a couple points on that. Within the last, from the year 2009, we've declined in our revenue from the fire department. At 2009, the revenue generated for from the millage was $5.15 million. This year, we anticipate $4.72 million, so it's an 8.4% decrease from 2009. The proposed millage would result in $5.45 million for fire, which would be about a 5.8% increase over the last 8 years, or approximately about a 0.7% increase annually. The property taxable value of property dropped 19.8% from 2009 to 2014. Although cash value of homes has rebounded, the taxable value is capped by the rate of inflation, and it's averaged out less than 2% of return over the last 2 years. In the last 8 years, we've delayed some equipment replacement, and during that time, while labor is over 80% of the total budget, our firefighters have taken significant concessions in 2011 and again in 2014, but simply we can't run the fire department on 8.4% less than we could 8 years ago. So we're asking for a millage increase. The police millage is approximately the same that it's been for the past several years. Are there any other announcements?
Just in line with the election, the absentee ballots, if you have applied for an absentee ballot, Those went out in the mail today, so you should see them sometime this week. If you haven't applied for an absentee application, you can come to the clerk's office, fill out a form. If you have it, make sure you select which ballot style you want. You need to check whether you want a Republican primary, a Democrat primary, or just the ballot proposal ballot when you fill out that form. And they're available at the clerk's office and also on the township's website.
Any other announcements? All right. We'll move on to item B on the agenda. This is regarding the special assessment for the St. Clair Haven subdivision, replacement of 3 bridges for Archer, North Lake Shore, and South Lake Shore. I know this is a public hearing, and usually the clerk's office would handle that process. But the idea is if there's anyone who's present who wishes to address the board, we have 2 chairs up front. They're labeled on-deck chairs, and we'd ask so that if anyone does want to come forward, or if a large number of people wish to come forward.
Were we gonna have the beautification speak during the announcement portion of the agenda? They were gonna speak to their project.
Oh,
That's why
okay.
they're here tonight.
All right.
Before we get into the public.
All right, well, before we get into the public hearing, but to finish that thought, if you do wish to address the board as opposed to, in an interest so that everyone has a chance to speak, if there are a large number of people wish to speak, if you can come up and be in the chair at the ready, then as one person finishes, the next person can come up. And again, that is if there is a large amount of public comment. That way also we know if there is anyone else that wishes to address the board. But before we do that, we'll invite the Beautification Commission up. I think they've got something they'd like to present to the board and to the residents.
Good evening. Thanks for having us tonight. I'm Sue Keene, the chairperson of the Beautification Commission, and these lovely volunteers behind us really have a dream and a drive to make Harrison Township just a beautiful place to live. So I'd like to introduce them as well. Herb Lorenz, Dolores Zach, Linda Verschuren, and my husband Jim Keene. Just some of our members who do a remarkable job out there in the community. These dedicated volunteers work together to create and maintain the gardens you see in places around the township and in our parks. We have had a memorial bench program where residents have generously donated some wonderful benches in honor of someone close to them or an event in their lives. Things like anniversaries, special birthdays, to remember someone close to them. We're going to continue this program and still welcome it. Thank you. However, we have a limited number of spaces for benches right now. When we get our lovely downtown that the DDA is planning in the years to come, there may be more spaces in a public area to put benches. But possibly, in the lieu of benches, I'd like you to think about something, also to raise the culture and pride in our township. This would be to introduce a sculpture donation program. This would be a special thing to do for anyone to mark a special event in their lives. Well-known sculptors, Eric and Israel Nordine, have a great respect for the beauty of our community and have created some really beautiful sculpture renditions for strategic places in our community. The sculptures are inspired by the abundant nature around us, the strength of our residents and families, the cohesiveness of our community, and the privilege we share to be able to live in this really unique place. The goal would be for residents to select a sculpture from a book that we actually have placed in our township offices right now for you to review, and donate it in its entirety or be a part of a few people contributing to the funding of a particular sculpture. If we combine a few people willing to contribute to a sculpture instead, we can accomplish some amazing art and raise the culture and pride in our community. A destination for visitors to take an amazing art tour via bike or via car. The donors' names would appear on the plaque by the sculpture, along with the story or interpretation of that sculpture. These sculptures would be placed in our parks like Tucker, Waterfront, along the bike path, and various strategic places. The Economic Development Corporation is active in raising support for a beautiful signature sculpture for the township, so everyone can view and enjoy it as you enter the community. An opportunity for township businesses to participate in committing to attracting more business to our area. Harrison Township, there's a Harrison Township Business Meeting event that will be held April 21st. That's being hosted by Economic Development, and they invite business folks in the area to come and hear the Nordines speak. In addition to this, a resident family has already committed to funding another sculpture. So my question today is, are you ready to commit? A book showing the renditions of the sculpture is available for viewing at the township offices. The sculptors are willing to design a sculpture especially for you, telling the story of someone you want to honor, should you want to fund a sculpture on your own. This is what the book looks like, just so you have a clue when you walk in the township offices. There are flyers indicating to call the Beautification Commission. My number's on that. I'm going to say it now. It's also in the flyer. It's 586-242-3868. We're all going to be tickled pink if that phone rings off the hook in a few minutes. But it indicates the beautiful selection of sculptures that are specific to the places the Nordines selected. So our signature sculpture also in Waterfront Park and so on. This is an amazing opportunity to be part of the future of our progressive township, along with creating a legacy for you or someone close to you for years to come. You will have the special privilege of working with the Nordine brothers, who currently have sculptures in many Michigan cities and have been actively involved in raising the artistic value and culture in them and in the new Detroit. Their work can be found on www.detroitdesigncenter.com. If you come and pick up a flyer, it's also on that flyer. Please consider this exciting opportunity. One more opportunity to share is your time and talent. By joining and supporting the Beautification Commission, we meet the fourth Monday of the month at 7 o'clock at Tucker Senior Center on Ballard. Whether you have a few hours to assist with one project or want to go to a regular meeting, your help would be so appreciated. We have gardens to maintain and regular events. We always need extra hands to accomplish this. We have some amazing hands behind us. This group, along with 4 or 5 others, have been handling everything that goes on in the gardens around the township. Future dates are Earth Day. We'll have a presentation on April 23rd. Garden Work Days in April and May. We have a July 23rd garden tour again this year, a plant exchange October 1st, and our Veterans Day programs on November 5th. Please call me if you're interested in sculpture donation or if you're interested in volunteering for attending these programs. I'm sure looking forward to hearing from you, and I think the township will just be bettered by these amazing sculptures that we're planning. So we appreciate your time tonight and look forward to seeing some art around the community. Thank you.
Thank you. The work that Beautification Commission does is nothing short of amazing. They're all volunteers. There's several gardens that greet you when you enter the township or as you go to our parks, all maintained by volunteers. And I think the idea of adding art strategically throughout the township will really, set a nice tone and a nice impression for the residents and the visitors of Harrison Township. So can't thank you enough for everything that you and your volunteers do. Anything else? So, all right, well, thank you. Now we'll move on to the public hearing for the special assessment. I know there's some particular points. I'll turn the floor over to you.
Sure. We'll open up the public hearing. That's the residents in the special assessment district. That's their opportunity to come forward and speak for or against the assessment in regards to the cost, the inclusion, the benefit to them. This is your opportunity to protest it. It reserves your right to appeal to the State Tax Commission as the project goes forward. But if you are gonna speak, I would ask that you give me your name and address so that it can be recorded in the minutes properly. Because if you're speaking against it, I wanna make sure, and, you know, if you do choose to go forward, we have you there and we can point to the records and see where you are, so.
All right, so at this time, we'll open up the floor. It's acceptable to,
Open the public hearing.
to public hearing. It's acceptable to limit those comments to 3 minutes.
Correct.
Which is our typical, period of time. So we'd be looking for a motion to, open the public hearing, number 1, for the St. Clair Haven Bridge Replacement SAD.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
All right, motion by Mr. Tominello. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Batanti. All right, certainly we can have a discussion on the motion, but really I'm likely looking for public comments after we pass the motion. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Batanti?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mr. Capral?
Yes.
Mr. York is excused. Mr. Witt, yes. Mr. Verkest?
Yes. So the public hearing is now open. Anyone who wishes to address the board in support of or as opposed to the Special Assessment District can do so now. You're welcome to come up to the podium if there's anybody who wishes to.
My name's Craig Tolles, live at 37835 Circle Drive. I've lived there for over 20 years. I'm against it because there was no other options given to us. I can't see the Party Bridge, there was a vote taken, the bridge is gonna be removed. So why do we need the Lakeshore Bridge, the North Bridge, to be as high as it is? Couple culverts can be put in, it can be flat, probably less than $500,000. The same thing can be done with the South Bridge. There's culverts used in Seaway the same way. Those bridges have never been maintained by the county, little to nothing, as long as I've lived there. And it's the same thing's gonna happen if you go and spend $2 million on each of those bridges. I cannot see how $2 million can be spent on those bridges. I built a bridge for a company, 65 feet long, 14 feet wide, rated at 65,000 pounds, all steel for $65,000. That didn't include the abutments. The abutments are already there. And I can't see why you would want to put a steel bridge over water. I think a precast concrete would be more economic, can be put in a lot shorter time. I watched them put the Boone Street Bridge in. That was ridiculous, how long it took. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would just like to add, I did receive one letter from a gentleman speaking out against the project. That'll be recorded in the minutes.
All right.
Hello, my name is Jean Munstaller, 31985 Riverdale. I'm here to protest the removal of the Party Bridge. I've lived here for 42 years, and we've had this fight ongoing from the very first time we moved in. And now, all of a sudden, it's okay to take out the bridge and leave us with one bridge. Even in this time where we're having all this political stuff, we're gonna be with one bridge. I also, I'm here because of the tax tribunal. I will be fighting the taxes on it. I feel that I'm paying Macomb taxes, and Macomb is supposed to take care of the bridges. Why do I have to pay again for the bridge? I guess I just want that answer. Thank you.
And again, if anyone wants to speak, we have the on-deck chairs over here. So
Izzy Cipriano, 37794 Circle Drive. I don't see why we're paying for the bridge when it doesn't serve us one bit. I mean, the Party Bridge should stay. If you want that bridge to stay, then, if you want the Lakeshore Bridge to stay, leave the Party Bridge alone. If you want the Lakeshore Bridge filled in with dirt, we can do that if you want to take out the Party Bridge. And then you gotta go all the way around, to the beach to get out. Because I don't think it's fair that we only have one way out And the bridge would then be a bottleneck. If we took the bridge right out, lowered it down 8 feet, just like we did if we put culverts in there, then I think that would be the way to go, and we wouldn't have to pay for the bridge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Anne Marie George, 38220 Lakeville. We really need that party bridge. There are just way too many residents that really need that option. We would be landlocked if anything ever happened. I notice about 30% of the drivers take that option as we're driving through the neighborhood. There is a park that the children have access to by taking that road. Otherwise, we'd have to drive really far around and little kids would be tuckered out by the time they even got to the park. I know a lot of the boaters would like to have that way open for access to the big water too, but we only have 5 out of 12 months of the year to use the waterway, and we need those 12 months of having that bridge available to us. The notice that we got had very confusing verbiage. It kind of made it sound like, do you want it taken out for free or do you want to pay for it? So of course people are just going to say, I don't want to pay for something, you know, they protested it. And when you're talking to all of our friends and neighbors, they didn't even know that we had an option to keep the bridge. And most of them just, you know, they just checked it off thinking this is just something we don't want to pay for. You know, of course, if you're doing something with the bridges, we don't want to pay for it. They didn't even know that we had the option to keep the bridge. And most of them didn't even know it flew under their radar that they were taking our vital, you know, bridge out that we do need to keep. It's, there's just too many residents there that use that bridge, especially if anything ever happens. I guess that would be it. If, you know, if something did happen, we would have to park way on South River Road and walk miles to get to our house. If something were to happen to the bridge and we couldn't get through, even when there's UPS trucks, mail trucks, the lawn services, they park on the side of the road. They block our ways around getting around that bridge. So a lot of people just turn off and use that other route as well. So kind of begging that we really put it in plain English to all the residents there, that they have an option, and put it back on the table again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Harvey Opalesky, 37740 Lakeshore. The part I don't understand here is these are county roads. Why do we have to subsidize the county and pay for these bridges? It's their responsibility. I'd like someone to give me an answer to that. As far as the party bridge, I have no opinion because it doesn't affect me.
So, and I, at the risk of, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we won't answer your question during the public comment session. It's not a back and forth, so I've noted your question, and once the The public comment session is closed. I'll do the best I can to answer that question for you, sir.
Okay, because, do you know, as you sent out the letter, or somebody sent, that there's many of us that are retirees and are on a fixed income, and we can't afford to subsidize the county more than we are now?
Sherry Carter. I live on Lake Shore now. I used to live on Archer. And I like the whole thing that's happening. I like the party bridge being out. I don't want to pay for it. I live at the end of Archer, 38038, and I only have one bridge, one way out. So the fact that these other people now have one way out, that's fine, because that's how I live anyway. And rather than pay for the party bridge and put more money into it, if it can be taken out for free. Also, I thought it was very clear, the voting process. And I'm very happy to pay my $13.66 to have these beautiful bridges in my community, where at this point they're crumbling. When you go underneath, you know, you kind of hope that nothing falls on your head, and you have to go in the middle now because they're so rickety. And so I'm very, very pleased. I want somebody to go on record that's actually pleased with this situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rich Tarnicki. I'm live over Rochester Hills, and I own lot on Circo 37748. The lot is not buildable, so I won't be able to put anything there. So why I gotta pay, you know, like everybody else, for the bridges? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carol Budchuck. I live at 38397 here on Point Drive. My question is in regards to the assessment. It's understandable how, and perhaps I have it wrong, but my understanding is that the people at the beginning of Lakeshore up to the North Bridge are not being assessed because they don't use the bridge. Okay. And then the people where I live on here on Point Drive, I only use one bridge. My understanding is, though, that I'm being assessed to pay for both when I only cross one bridge. And I only ever have to cross one bridge to get to my house. Now, if I'm mistaken, then I apologize for that. But I'm just wondering why I pay for two bridges and the people over on Lakeshore are not paying for any, which is understandable because they're not crossing a bridge. But I'm only crossing one bridge, but I'm paying for two. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Senstock, 31698 San Juan. I don't live in the area of that particular special assessment, but I am a member of Harrison Township, and I will be affected by this, as will every resident in Harrison Township that lives in the waterfront communities. The Road Commission has a responsibility for the roads and the bridges out in that area. The Road Commission has a responsibility for the bridges out on 32 Mile Road, out on Romeo Plank, on Shook, all over. If the Road Commission can bully, or Buffalo, you guys, to put some money in, more power to them. But you're not representing the residents of Harrison Township at all. What you should be saying to the Road Commission is, you bought them, you got them. It's your responsibility. You didn't maintain them for years until they finally got to the point where now rocks are falling off from underneath and so on. That same scenario happened out in Romeo. It's happening over on Shook. It's happening on Union or Quinn Road. What is, and I understand Jefferson now, I haven't been down there, but the fact of the matter is, if they can get you to pay for it, why should they ever do anything? And here you are as representatives of Harrison Township. Well, you know what? We'll just go ahead and pass this special assessment and override all of these people out here. And some of them don't mind. 1,366 is not a lot of money to some, but it is to a lot. And that's just the tip of the iceberg with these people. You tell the road commission you bought it, you got it. It's yours. We are not going to put into it. The state law is very clear. It is their responsibility. It is not the township's. The township has no responsibility whatsoever towards those roads. So why should the individual citizens in Harrison Township have to take over that responsibility? Why don't you take it from the general fund of Harrison Township if you're representing Harrison Township? Instead, you're clocking all these people for this money because you figure they can't really defend themselves. Well, you know what? People understand. November's coming. You have the ability to get rid of every single one of these people if they vote for it. Remember it, because these guys are not representing you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's hard to follow up. Hi, my name's Ron George, and I'm at 38220 Lakeville in Harrison Township. I'm kind of mute on the point right now regarding the payment for the bridges. However, with the Party Bridge, back in that little cove, they put a nice little playground for our daughter to go and play. And if that Party Bridge is removed, again, my wife had explained you'd have to drive a mile down and about a mile back to go to that. Well, it also blocks her off from having access to her friends that she's made also back there too. So kind of landlocks us, but I was also trying to think of a different way maybe to able to keep it too. If maybe we kept the Party Bridge and made it so that it's gated for passengers or bikes and stuff to go back and forth in there. And if we did have an emergency, that they could open the gate up to let the traffic kind of go back and forth. I know it's an inconvenience to the boaters and things to that nature, but trying to look at the health of our own citizens and future citizens, that they can go and have access to the playground and play, feel more adapt to the community and certain things to that nature. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I forgot about one more thing. With the bridge being closed down now under construction, the school buses, there was a weight limit and the school buses couldn't get over the bridge. And so in the future, having only one bridge, when it's time for there to be construction on the bridge and there's a weight limit, school buses can't get through, and many of the other trucks that have heavy weight requirements won't be able to pass across the bridge as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine Hopper, 37370 Lakeshore Drive. I had been to a meeting where the fire department was here, and he said that it's really serious to close that bridge because there's only one way in and one way out. If the fire trucks have to get in, it won't be good. They need access both ways. So, I mean, everything seems to be wrapped around the boaters. I don't have a boat. With the finances, I'm on Social Security, I live by myself, and this will probably push me out of the area. I'm living in my parents' home. The home has been out there for a good 50 years. I'm being pushed out financially because of this. I don't want to move. My house will be a tear down. It'll be sad to see the house come down. But that's how it's going to be. If there's some other way for this to be paid for, there's a lot of people here, I'm sure, are on just Social Security. It's going to be hard for us to pay. For me, it will be. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to, one more point here. If we're the people that are paying for the bridge because we're the people who use the bridge, I get that is the explanation. Is this going to be a gated community?
Izzy Cipriano, 37794 Circle Drive. I can't understand why we're even paying for the bridge, because we're not using the bridge. We're using a road, and all we need is a road. So you're making us pay for a bridge that has not any effect to us to go underneath it, because we have our own way in and out. So why are we paying for a bridge when all we need is a road? If you want that bridge, they should have the people in Archer pay for that bridge, the people on the part of Lakeshore that want that bridge. We don't need that bridge, and we don't need the other bridge either. All we need to do is fill that in. So why are you jamming us with this? I don't know. And if anybody's in for a class action lawsuit, count me in. I'm there for you.
Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we'd be looking for a motion to close public hearing number 1 for St. Clair Haven Bridge Replacement SAD.
So moved.
All right, is there support?
Support.
Got a motion by Mr. Batanti with support by Mr. Caprell to close public hearing number 1. Discussion, board members? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Batanti?
Yes.
Mr. Brado, or I'm sorry, Mr. Caprell?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mr. Tominelli?
Yes.
Mr. York is excused. Mr. Witt, yes. Mr. Verkest?
Yes, thank you. So I know that there's really two parts of the public hearing, and one is to give people the opportunity to express formally their opposition to the SAD, but there were certainly some questions that were asked. I'll do the best that I can to answer those questions. And I'll do them in the best order I can, and actually, if I've missed something, I'm gonna ask, because I'll try to answer them the best that I can. There was the first comment, no other options, the North Lakeshore and South Lakeshore Bridge, why can't we look at a culvert as opposed to a bridge? Because certainly the cost of a culvert would be less than the cost of a bridge. It's a great question, and it's the first question that I asked back in 2012 when we were approached with with the Archer Bridge, or what's actually legally known, I think, as the Moon Street Bridge. Of all the bridges, very, very few people use the bridge that was just replaced for navigation. We could argue that there are people who go under the North Lakeshore Bridge as a means to access the lake, but clearly, if there was what I might consider a poster child for a bridge that could have been made into a culvert, it would have been the bridge that was just replaced. So we began that process through the county and through the state to investigate. What we learned was that first and foremost, if we go to a culvert from a bridge, although the overall cost would be less, it wouldn't qualify for a federal grant. We'd get no federal funds to do it, and it would fall solely on the county and or the residents. That was number one. Number two, through the Department of Environmental Quality, they required several studies, or multiple studies, I can't tell you how many. One was relative to water flow, and the second one was relative to whether or not that limited flow would impact species. And what we were told was there's a high likelihood that after you do those studies, the DEQ won't grant you the option of replacing the bridge with a culvert. We do also know, excuse me, from from experience of residents, and I'm not going to remember which road it is, if it's Lakeville but one of those has a culvert and they experience limited flow. So I hear from residents on, and I apologize, I don't remember which one it is, but one of them has a culvert as opposed to a bridge.
Lakeville, Lakeshore.
Lakeville, Lakeshore, thank you. And I know that folks, I've been approached by residents on that canal asking if they can install or get permission to put some sort of a bubbler or positive flow device in at that culvert because they don't experience enough flow and they feel that the quality of the water in that canal is less because of that culvert. So the short answer is, would it cost less in overall construction? Yes, but what we found was that the studies that it would take to do it would likely lead to a no response from the state. But in addition, the true cost, because it doesn't qualify for federal matching funds, would actually be greater. So we did ask that question on Archer. It's a good question. There was a comment saying that the bridges are not maintained by the county. I would take exception to that. I do know that they have an inspection program and they do make repairs on an ongoing basis. Those bridges, regardless of what we might say has occurred in the past, they have outlasted their functional life. There is a functional life to those bridges. That point has come and gone. So the bridges have a need to be replaced. There was a comment made about removing the abutments. The plan for the county is to remove the abutments. Steel versus concrete, it's my understanding that those bridges are not steel, but in fact they are reinforced pre-stressed concrete. But I think a big question is why pay for the bridge? And that again, also really a good question. The county, through Public Act 51, receives dollars to pay for the maintenance of roads. We don't pay that tax as we pay a county tax. We pay that tax when we purchase gasoline. So the money that the Macomb County Department of Roads receives to maintain all of the roads comes strictly through the taxes we pay at the gas pump. Certainly, I don't think there's a need to go into the whole debate that's gone on over the last several years about how funding for roads in Michigan is broken and it's lagging behind. But specifically, I would point to, excuse me, I would point to the history of the neighborhood itself when the neighborhood paid through approximately 30 years ago, maybe a little less, through a special assessment district to repave those roads. It was a decision made by the residents. Why? Because the county does not rebuild local roads. So again, by Public Act 51 of 1951, which is the legislation that dictates how roads are funded and how they're repaired and how they're maintained. Cities receive the funds collected, but townships do not. So the funds that go to the roads that exist in a township go to the county. So the roads, yes, are they owned by the county? Yes, they are owned and maintained by the county. However, the county does not rebuild local roads. It's important, again, when we talk about that, to understand that the county looks at Lakeshore differently than Town Hall, which is different than, say, Jefferson or Metro Beach. By definition, there are roads that are deemed local roads. Those are typically 25-mile-per-hour roads that we live on. They're often dead-end roads. The next level of road would be a collector road, which would be, say, Town Hall. It's not only a local road, but it's literally a thoroughfare that some people might use. Some of you that live in the Huron Point subdivision may come through and take South River to go home. So you may travel Town Hall even though you don't live on that road. So that road is a step above a local road. Then the further you go are larger roads that might have a higher speed limit and then up to something we might consider a highway or something like Metro Parkway. The county, per Act 51, is bound from paying no more than 50%, or I should say, the language says that a match in funds is required to rebuild a local road. So Lakeshore is a local road. The road I live on is a local road. The best we could hope for is to get 50% of the cost contributed by the county, and the other 50% has to come from local. That's not unique to Harrison Township. It's not really unique to Macomb County, but certainly you will not find another local road in Macomb County that's funded at all for reconstruction. Every year they set aside $2 million that they'll, I shouldn't say every year, but for the last 3 years approximately, they've set aside, the county has $2 million that's available in a match program where if you wanted to repave your local road, they would allow a 50% match. So say your road needed to be repaved and it was 800,000, you could apply for a grant for 800,000. The county would put in 800,000, the local residents would put in 800,000. Now, I recognize I'm talking about local roads versus bridges, and certainly a bridge is different than a road, but the county is treating that bridge the same as the local road. So the bottom line is you will not find a local road in Harrison Township, Macomb County that's repaved or rebuilt without local dollars, meaning without either the township paying for it or the residents that live on that road. And that's most typically done through a special assessment. I'm going to jump ahead. Someone said it's not the township's responsibility. You're right, it's not. We do not have a responsibility for roads. And in fact, if we said we wanted to repave the road, we can't. We can cooperate with the county, but we can't do it. It's their road, they have to do it, and they set the standards. So the next statement was made, well, take it from the general fund. That's also a great idea. The problem is that in addition to the 3 bridges in the Lakeshore or the Huron Point subdivision, I can think of hundreds of other roads in the township that are local roads that are failing. And each of the people that live on those roads say, well, if you're going to pay for, if the township is going to use general fund dollars, which is basically surplus money that's left over, that accumulates, rainy day money, if you're going to use that on Lakeshore, well, you better come and repave my road. If I were to try to estimate what the cost would be to repave all of the local roads, we're talking about, if it's 50 million, 100 million, I don't know, a number many 100 times more than what we have in the bank. So we don't really want to get into the situation of saying, well, we're going to use general fund dollars to repave this bridge, but we're not going to repave the street that he lives on or the street that he lives on. We simply don't have those funds. The county doesn't have those funds. The county does not repave local roads. You will find no example of the county repaving a local road unless the people who live on that road paid for it. So the issue here is the county is treating these 3 bridges as a local road. Now, they have said we'll pay for half of that. If I wanted to get my road repaved and I formed a special assessment district, it's not likely that the county would contribute half of the cost of the road that I live on, or the road that really anybody lives on here, or the road that you live on. But they are participating in the cost of the bridges. The simple truth is, whether you see a white truck with a township sticker on it, or you see an orange truck with a county sticker on it, or a green truck, or a blue truck, or whether it's a federal truck or a state truck, we all pay. And we could all pay more in gas taxes next year, and it doesn't mean that it's going to get spent to fix the road that you live on and have a direct impact on your property values. I don't like it, and it's true. The county owns the roads, but our choice here isn't to just sit back and do nothing. I think I think it's irresponsible. Why subsidize the county? We're not subsidizing the county. To me, subsidizing would be if we all paid a tax and we fixed a road in Sterling Heights or in Macomb Township. That would be subsidizing. So that's the reason why local roads are funded by the people who are on those roads. That's the current structure. It's not established by us. We don't set that policy. It's set by the state of Michigan. They collect the taxes on gas, and then they disperse them through a formula that they determine. It's not a county, certainly not a township decision. I've heard some people talk about a vote. It's important to say that we conducted a survey and not a vote. It is actually prohibited by law for us to vote on certain things that the township board has the responsibility of doing. So, for example, if it's our responsibility to negotiate with the water and sewer workers and establish a contract with their union, I can't put that out to a vote by law. We're prohibited from that. We have to make the decision. That's been ruled or decided that that's our responsibility as elected individuals. What we did is we'd asked for a survey to see what is the will, what is the interest of the people. Over 77% of the people responded, and 65% of those people asked to remove the bridge. Now, it's possible that some of them misunderstood that survey. That margin is just too great for us to ignore. The second thing we did, and I know there was a comment made, was why should we pay for 3 bridges? Why not just pay for the bridge that we travel across? Well, as a matter of fact, our original proposal from the clerk's office was to have districts within that neighborhood where everybody only pays based on the bridges that service them. When we had some meetings with the residents, I think the North Star Sail Club was one of them that I was at that was pretty highly attended. There were a lot of people there that said, well, that's not a fair way to do it. You're making the person at the end of the road pay more than the person at the beginning of the road. That's an unfair way to do it. At very best, you should do a survey. Again, we asked a survey. We mailed it out to everybody. We gave ample time. I think it was 62% of those people said divide the costs equally. I don't want to say I don't care as if I don't literally care, but I don't own property there. I'd rather not even deal with this issue, but I think it would be irresponsible to lose millions of dollars in federal funding for those bridges by not acting. But no matter what decision this board makes, there's going to be a group of people that say, well, I happen to be the group that said the bridge should stay, or I happen to be the group that said we should divide those costs differently. I respect that. I understand that. That was the whole purpose of why we spent a lot of time and a lot of money on that survey and gave people ample opportunity to respond. And we don't get 77% of the people who participate in a vote. So 77% participation is pretty strong. I can say we received the bids from the county. I should say the county received the bids for the North Lakeshore Bridge late last week. They had anticipated a cost, I'm going to say it was 1.6 million, maybe higher than that for the North Lakeshore Bridge for the construction. The bid came in at 1.41 million. The $1,366 estimate is truly that. It's an estimate, and it's a conservative estimate. It's based on adding in certain contingencies. We don't want to say it's going to be 1,300 and have it come back 1,500. We'd rather say it's going to be 1,100, talk about 1,300, and have that number come in under. If it's too far over what we say, it changes the whole SAD process. So far, the numbers are in under what the county estimated. There was a resident here who had said, hey, why should I have to pay for a bridge? I have an unbuildable lot. Well, the reality is there is a process you can go through to get a variance to build on a lot, but even if you have a vacant lot, there are a lot of people within that subdivision that have vacant lots, but they may use that only as a place to dock a boat, to moor a boat. But the reality is, it's hard to say, well, if we're going to do a special assessment, well, this person has more cars, they should pay more, or this person's house is worth more, or this lot is vacant versus the other. There is no perfect way to divide that up. And typically, when you consider traveling across those bridges, whether you have a house on a 50-foot lot or a 100-foot lot, there's a certain amount of traffic that travels to get to that home, to get to that garage or that driveway. So the decision was made to divide those up and make the charge or the assessment by parcel. There was a question, well, I kind of addressed that, why pay for 2 to 3 bridges versus 1 bridge? That was the original proposal we had, was to make that assessment progressive the further that you went and the more bridges you crossed. We heard from a lot of folks that said, well, that's unfair. It happens to be that really the people who would have paid the most were a minority. So I was a little bit surprised by that response, that the majority of people said divide the cost equally, but a majority of the people really there were a certain number of people who stood to pay more by voting to divide the cost equally, but that was the response we got. Again, that's why we did the survey. I didn't want to say, well, this is what it is. This is the ultimate in local control. We put out the survey, people had a chance to respond. There was a question asked about plans for future bridge replacement. What happens when the North Lakeshore Bridge reaches the end of its life cycle in the future? The county has proposed to assume the cost to remove the Pardee Bridge. However, they will not remove those abutments. And they believe that at some point in the future, by removing some guardrails and putting in a temporary span, you may have considered that the South Lakeshore Bridge, or the very last bridge, when that comes out, there is no way in and out for those people. So the county has to construct a temporary span to the west of that existing structure, and it's gonna go across, somebody's front lawn for a, a portion of this summer, and the county has to negotiate and compensate those people. But 50 years from now, the county's intent is to say that the existing abutments at Pardee Bridge will remain in place, and they could put a temporary span across there to provide for access to the neighborhood when the North Lakeshore Bridge may need to be replaced. There was a comment about the firefighter response time. The county not only gave us a legal opinion about removal of the Pardee Bridge, and it is not our decision, it is the county's decision, but the county asked the township, do you want it removed or not? Well, that's not a decision I feel that we, as a board, should make without getting input from the residents, which is why we conducted the survey. But the ultimate decision is the county's. It's their bridge. But a question was made about firefighter response time. The county did a study before they gave, or in a conjunction with the legal opinion, and they said that removal of the Pardee Bridge would result in a change of response time for a handful of homes that was in a 15-second range. So their legal department proposed to us that 15-second change in response time was not significant enough to say that it was a matter of public safety that the bridge remains. There was a issue, one statement saying, if the people pay for the bridge, can it be a gated bridge? No more than anyone who's paid to repave the road throughout the township has the right to put a gate. So if you drive throughout the township, you will see local roads that have been repaved through the special assessment district. In fact, the road that your homes are all located on was paid for by either you or the person who preceded you in owning that home 20-some or 30 years ago. But it doesn't give us the right to gate. So it is still a participation from the locals, from the property owners, but it is still a county road. The county owns it and they maintain it, but currently they will not rebuild it. So I tried the best I could to answer the questions. It's a difficult decision. No matter what option occurs here, somebody is going to be dissatisfied with it, or someone's going to be disenfranchised, which was the reason why we did the survey. And I'll tell you frankly, the reason why I was happy to see such a high response rate on that survey and such an overwhelming majority, a 2/3 majority to say take out the bridge. But all that means is 1/3 of the people say it's the wrong option, and I understand that. As a board member, I can only speak for myself. After seeing that response and that overwhelming response, it would be hard for me to vote to leave the Pardee Bridge in and replace it after we conducted a survey and 2/3 of the people said remove it. So to me, that would be anarchy on my part to conduct a survey, spend tax dollars on that survey, spend hundreds of hours answering residents' questions, answering those questions before they sent them in, tallying the things, talking about it at a board meeting, and then completely ignore the survey and say, leave the Pardee Bridge in. Likewise, how should you divide that cost? We'd ask the people. I recognize you don't like to pay for it. I don't like it either. But this same conversation is occurring throughout neighborhoods in Harrison Township and throughout the county as people say, my road is deteriorating, what can be done? And one by one, people are enacting special assessment districts to repave or rebuild their roads. I don't know if there's any other board comment.
Mr. Supervisor, I seem to recall a meeting, a resident mentioned it when Chief Lopez was here. And he was asked about that response time, and maybe there was confusion. I thought I understood his answer to mean there would not be a negative impact to response time. When the chief was here, he actually did address that, as I recall.
Sure. Well, I remember it specifically because I can tell you that at the time, the county had given us we had a standing opinion from the county back at that particular meeting that said that the only way the bridge could be removed is if the township assumed liability. And we had that in writing. And I wasn't comfortable assuming that liability. And I'd asked the question of the chief. And the chief's question, as far as I'm concerned, was kind of down the middle because it isn't a question of saying, does it affect, well, I should say, it can have an impact on response time, But it's pretty hard to logically argue that if I live on a particular lot on a street, and right now there's two ways to get there, and when you take out the bridge, there's only one way to get there, does it potentially limit access to that property? Sure, I don't think anyone could argue that different. The home that I live at and own used to be a dead-end road. When Ashland was paved and put through, now it's connected at both ends. It's easier to get to my home now because I've got 2 points into that neighborhood than when it was only one. So it would be hard to argue that removing the bridge doesn't impact access to the property. But as one resident pointed out, there's a lot of homes that only have one way in and out. When we had, and as a lot of people pointed out in the past, when there was a gas main failure 2-3 years ago, they closed South River, that was it. So that's one way in and out. So
Or
it is.
Marsh fire years before that.
Sure, it happens. We heard from the Beautification Commission saying we live in a truly beautiful and unique place. It's true, but there are limitations when you live in some of those places. So, any other board comment? Hearing none, I'd be looking for a motion to adopt the foregoing resolution number 3 for the St. Clair Haven Bridge Replacement SAD project as presented.
And just to speak to the purpose of the resolution, it just declares that the project is necessary, and to move forward, it'll make the role available. We actually already have the role available to everyone, but this is part of the process. Normally, tonight, we would have the next step in the process, which would be setting the next public hearing. But we're not doing that tonight because the supervisor and I had been discussing a couple options, exploring some options as far as financing for the project to try and help control the cost. And we didn't want to get too far ahead of ourselves until we got some answers on that financing portion. We're trying to look at a couple different options, trying to find the most efficient way and an economic way to finance this project for the residents.
And the actual assessment, should this pass and should it move forward, the assessment doesn't occur until the project is complete. This project encompasses 3 bridges. The Archer Bridge is complete, so the costs are known. But the North and South Lakeshore bridges are included in this, and until the South Lakeshore Bridge is complete and the county can say that job is closed, only then would they know what that match is, what that final cost is, and only then can we establish what that cost per parcel is divided by 674 parcels. So the 1,366 is an estimate. When the project is completed, an actual final cost is known, it's divided up, and that's when the assessment actually occurs. So to not go into the next step right now, we don't anticipate the assessment occurring for 9-10 months, I'm guessing, just estimating. And we are looking at financing options. It's possible that the county has the cash flow to pay for that, and so it's a question of saying, well, what could we get on a bond market? Maybe the county is willing to say, well, we'll extend that financing to the township at a lower rate than what you could in a bond, but it might be higher than an interest rate that they're currently getting on those funds. That's what we're investigating right now. Be looking for a motion to adopt the foregoing resolution number 3 for the St. Clair Haven Bridge Replacement SAD project as presented.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution number 3 for the St. Clair Haven Bridge Replacement Special Assessment District project as presented.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Witt with support by Mr. Battanti. Discussion, board members? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Witt, yes. Mr. Battanti?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mr. Capral?
Yes.
Mr. Tominelli?
Yes.
Mr. York is excused. Mr. Verkest?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, board. And thank you to the residents that came out. I think someone summarized it best. This issue's been discussed for 30 years. These are long-standing and difficult issues, and there's been a lot of passion expressed for and against the whole process.
Mr. Supervisor, would you like to let the audience know that they can speak at the end of the meeting on public comment if they have some additional comments?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yep, good point. We've got about 5 more agenda items. And then once we reach the end of the meeting, we open the floor again for public comments. We ask that people limit those comments to 5 minutes in length, so a little bit longer, and they can be about any subject matter. So if you'd like to ask a question about this, or voice your concerns about this, or ask a follow-up question, or any other subject, that's the time that we allow for that in our meeting. All right, next on the agenda is item C1, to approve the execution of a one-year contract extension with Ultimate Lawn Service for lawn care, which would run through or expire April 1st of 2017. Board-
Motion, motion to approve the execution of one-year contract with Ultimate Lawn Service for lawn care only and no noxious weed responsibility expiring April 1, 2017.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Tominello. Is there support? Support by Mr. Camperl. Discussion, board members?
And this is there's no change in the cost, it's a renewal.
Absolutely, yep. This is the same cost from the original 2012 bid, so certainly cost containment, that's for sure. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Witt, will you please, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, board. Next on the agenda, item C2, to approve the advancement of Mr. Jeff Ryan to level 3 water and sewer foreman. Board members, Mr. Ryan has served in the position of water and sewer foreman for 2 years. He's performed very well during that time, and his review is positive. Per the supervisory contract, progression up the levels will be on approval of the Board of Trustees based on the recommendation of the supervisor after a yearly review. I believe Mr. Ryan's performance and review warrant my recommendation that he advance to the next pay level per the contract, from a salary of $61,100 to $63,700. Be looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to advance Mr. Jeff Ryan to a level 3 water and sewer foreman per the supervisory contract effective the next pay period, February 18th, 2016.
All right. Is there support?
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Capperell, support by Mr. Tominello. Discussion, board members?
I think it's important to note that the decision tonight is solely based on performance. That's the only principle on which we're judging this. There's no discretion as far as, it's based on performance alone.
The step is defined in the contract. There are a total of 4 steps. So this is level 3, and the contract does indicate that it should be based on the yearly review. And I certainly would say, and I'll spare the discussion on future. As much as I would recommend Mr. Ryan, I would also just as strongly recommend Mr. Murphy and Mr. Axtell's progression up the levels, again, based on their performance. Any other board comment or discussion? We'll open up the floor for public comment.
Jim Senstock, 31698 CN1. Is level 3 the top level, or is there more? Was this money included in the budget for this year? My reading, and I have to go back and double check it, but even though you may think they're doing a good job, doesn't mean you have to give them a raise. That's what the contract says, if I recall correctly. So, where are you getting this money from? You've been slowly eating up the fund balance in Harrison Township. We're probably fast approaching less than $1 million when you started with several million. I think it was 4 point something. The problem is, I've listened over the last 3 months, and you know what? It's not your money. No, it's not my money. I can give it away. I can be the good guy. The fact of the matter is, you had people here tonight that are telling you they can't afford a special assessment district. What makes you think they're going to afford when you come back later on after you've run the fund balance out to 0 or less, like you did the fire department, and you come back and say, oh, but guess what? We don't we don't get tax money for general fund. You people should give us tax money. We'll have to cut all these services out. You know what? I expect everybody to do a good job. You work for me, I expect you to do a good job. Your reward is that you got the job. Now, when was the last time this person got a raise? I didn't hear you say that. When did they get it? A year ago? 2 years ago? 5 years ago? The fact of the matter is, you guys are running the money out. You have no concern whatsoever, and your full intent is to come back like you are on the fire millage. And I will be discussing that for 5 minutes later on. But you're gonna come back and say, we're running out of money and we need you guys to give us more money. Because we're not getting the same tax revenue we got back in 2009. Well, we're not getting the same pay we got back in 2009. We're not getting the same health benefits. We're not getting anything. Nobody is what they were getting in 2009. And I'm sick and tired of hearing that from you guys. Again, the election's November. You guys have been spending money like drunken sailors. And half of you ain't even sailors. It's time you stopped. It's time you started saving some money for the township. And if you can't do that, you don't belong there. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, we'll close the floor for public comment and move back to board comment. I'll try to answer the questions. Is level 3 the top level? No, I had mentioned that there are 4 steps in the supervisory contract. So these are annual reviews. So the question was, when was the last raise? A year ago this time, these guys went from level 1 to level 2. So we're proposing that they move from level 2 to level 3. Is this included in the budget?
Yes.
Yeah, the short answer is the steps are built in, but to say that I can tell you right where that point is, the salaries in the water and sewer department are grouped together, so it would be difficult for me to show that number directly in the budget. But I think a more important point is the resident made a reference to fund balance. These 3 employees and their wages are funded through the water and sewer fund. It's an enterprise fund, and in fact, they're not allowed to be funded from the general fund, and likewise, the general fund can't subsidize that. It's a separate fund. So the funding source for this is the water and sewer department. Any other discussion, board members?
Yeah, so Mr. Supervisor, yeah, just a question. So when I was doing the calculations on the step increases, I'm looking at like a 4.4% bump. And my question is, are these fixed, or do we have the option to give them something more or something less?
No, it's fixed. Well, it's defined in the contract. I'm not aware of a time that we've made an arbitrary decision to give more or less. I would think that would be grievable. I would think if there were, let's say this, if the option before us isn't to probably modify the steps, because the steps are combined. I don't want to practice labor law, but the contract wouldn't seem to suggest that you can individually negotiate with an employee. However, you could say, because the contract acknowledges that the progression is upon approval of the Board of Trustees, which is based on the recommendation of the supervisor after a yearly review.
Sure.
I could not in good conscience say that any of these 3 men have received anything other than a favorable review for the duration of their employment with the township, which is why they were elevated to a management level, because they all began as field personnel.
Okay, so, and I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
The thing I'm having an issue with is 4.4%. You know, my company, like every other company in the private sector, gets increases annually sometimes, but those annual increases are between 2 and 2.5%. When I'm looking at 4.4, I just don't feel comfortable. You know, again, I'm not against the increase, I just think that we're way over the average that people get out of annual performance reviews. And I'm not talking about people who just do average work, I'm talking about people that do commendable and exceptional. They'll get towards the 2.5, and people that are doing, you know, they're meeting their goals are around 2%. So that's where I'm having an issue with.
Sure. Well, it's important to understand that for the duration of this contract, it runs through December 31st of 2017. There are no increases in the contract. Now, I know you say, well, wait a minute, we're talking about a 4.4% increase, but let me clarify. There are step increases in all of our contracts, and as far as I know, in practically every municipal contract, where you hire in at a lower rate, and then you might go through a 2 to 5 step process. And the same goes for teachers as well. But then there's an increase based on once you meet your step, or once you reach your highest point or your highest step, you get a raise. So the AFSCME raise, for example, was 1.5% that per their contract for this year. So that raise, that increase is a different increase. But there are specific steps defined in the contract, and in the other two bargaining units, those steps occur without board approval. And it is in essence, so for example, when we hire a firefighter, I'm going by memory, but I'm gonna say they start out at 37,000. And after a 5-year period, they move up to 66,000. 37,000 is a pretty low wage to bring in someone with the skills and training that might be associated with a firefighter, but it's a progressive step as opposed to just saying, okay, we hire you, we're bringing you in at 66,000. So this is kind of a similar situation. The 61, or I should say the 58.5 that this position began 2 years ago was actually less than the individual made with their wage and overtime as a field worker in the AFSCME unit. So there's no way that that individual took this position with an expectation that they would earn 58.5 for the next 10 years. They took it knowing that I'll take literally a pay cut to assume more responsibilities and not get paid overtime, but I know that over a 2 to 3 year period, through the step that's defined in the contract, I'll get to a wage that truly advances me in my career. Beyond that, once they're at the top of their step, we do negotiate raises, and this contract has no raises for its duration that are increases that are for everyone. The only increases that are occurring here are these step increases. And this is because they're new to this bargaining unit and new to those positions, meaning they've served there for 2 years. So it is a little different, and I recognize your hesitation, but it is different than an across-the-board 1.5% increase for all employees, which is what occurred in the AFSCME contract January 1. Any other discussion?
I have a problem with the percentage too. I think the percentage is too high.
We can't do anything different. It's 0 or this.
Right.
Yeah, and I also, I'm having a difficulty because we're a month from now gonna be asking the residents to weigh in on as to whether they wanna pay more money for health and safety increases, and then we're looking at giving out 3 raises, so.
But these are,
Are these mandatory raises? Or are these something that is optional?
I'm gonna read the contract language to you.
I've already read it.
I can't tell you any more than what that contract language is. That's the only way I can define it. To say that I would practice labor law here and say, well, it's grievable if you don't take it, I simply can't predict that. I can say that I'm not aware of any time that we've denied anyone a step increase within this contract. And I certainly can say that we've had employees in this bargaining unit that I didn't have as high of a recommendation for as these 3 individuals. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion by Mr. Caprell with support by Mr. Tominello to advance Mr. Jeff Ryan to level 3 water and sewer foreman for the supervisory contract effective the next pay period, February 18, 2016. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next on the agenda, item C3. Board members, this is, I could read the item, but it's the same thing. Mr. Murphy has served in the water and sewer maintenance supervisor for 2 years. His review was, I don't know if I can say equally satisfactory. I don't want to try to say who does a better job or is more deserving, but certainly each of these 3 individuals receive not only a favorable review, but a favorable review by their coworkers as well. And I do believe that Mr. Murphy's performance warrants the recommendation that he advance to the step 3, or level 3, which is a move from a salary of $65,520 to $68,380. Is there discussion? Is there a motion?
Make a motion to advance Mr. Justin Murphy to level 3 water and sewer maintenance supervisor per supervisory contract, effective next pay period, February 18, 2016.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right. We had some discussion. If there's no objection, I'll open the floor for public comment.
William Bardell, 19-year resident, new kid on the block. I just find it a little bit ironic that we just raised our transmission rates to our water, and all of a sudden this is coming in. You got to remember, these gravy government jobs, there's no layoffs. This is easy money. So I'd like to ask you to reconsider, but do whatever you want, and I guess we'll just have to vote at the polling booths. But these are gravy jobs. You guys just raised the water transmission rates conveniently, not long ago.
Thank you.
Jim Senstock, 31698 San Juan. I want to thank you, Ken, for telling me that it's coming out of the Water and Sewer Department, because Mr. Bardell kind of stole my thunder. The Water and Sewer Department just raised water rates, quite a bit, in fact. At the time, we were complaining about that. And so now you're gonna take another $6,000, $8,000, $9,000 and put more of that in the water and sewer fund. Oh, well, the water and sewer fund, it's a fund that they can charge whatever they want as long as they can cover the cost. So if in fact you raise the cost, why don't you give these guys $6,000 and let's not go through it next year? Let's not go through level 4. Let's jump right up to level 4. The contract does not require you to give them a level 3. It doesn't. Okay? You're paid to be a supervisor, Mr. Verkesh. You're paid to not be a labor attorney. You got an attorney sitting right there. Did you ask him? No, you didn't. The fact of the matter is, you guys are spending money like drunken sailors. So, everybody should be aware in the public that not only are you going to pay for these guys' raises for these cushy government jobs, because they are cushy, as the gentleman pointed out, there's no layoffs, there's no reductions of whatever, the absolute top, the most extreme top health care. In fact, we even go out and get a special, we pass a special resolution allowing us to have that Cadillac, well, maybe I should call it a Mercedes-Benz of health care. It's ridiculous. It's unbelievable. I guess I'm almost speechless, but everybody should also understand that if you read the news the last few days, the Detroit Water and Sewer Department is planning on raising your rates 9% next year. What do you think these guys are going to do? Oh, we got to raise it 9%. We got to cover all our costs. Somewhere along the line, you're killing the golden goose. The people are getting sick and tired of it. You're not doing a single thing to help the people. I'm the good guy. I'm the supervisor that gave all the raises. You guys better keep your allegiance to me, and you better keep it good and solid. If I tell you I want you to jump, you should jump. That's what's going on here. Ken wants to have these guys beholding to him. Well, I'm sick and tired of it, and I'm going to be speaking out on it every time I get a chance. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, we'll close the floor for public comment and move back to board comment. I don't know if there is any board comment.
Just feel the same way.
Sure.
Understood.
Same with me.
Yep. All right. We have a motion by Mr. Batanti with support by Mr. Caprell to advance Mr. Justin Murphy to level 3 water and sewer maintenance supervisor per the supervisory contract effective the next pay period, February 18, 2016. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next on our agenda is the same step 3 increase for Mr. Axtell. He's established relationships with his peers in other communities, created partnerships with a Save the Township Thousands. He has worked to improve procedures in the office as well as in the field, and he's still making suggestions and improvements. And again, I've got the contract language. I recommend an advancement from step 2 to step 3, which is a $3,900 increase. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to advance Mr. Dave Axtell to level 3 Public Services Director per the supervisory contract, effective the next pay period, February 18th, 2016.
Is there support?
Support.
All right. Any discussion, board members? Hearing none, we'll open up the floor for public comment.
William Bardell, 19-year resident, new kid on the block, new breed. This is another cushy government job that you're giving a raise to, and I'd like somebody up here to please ask for a roll call so we know who to vote for in November. This is a cushy government job, and you keep giving these people this easy money. There's no layoffs. This is a cushy government job with full boat. Easy breezy government job with a full boat. No layoffs. And I'd like somebody to show some moxie and to go for a roll call vote. And I'd like to ask, is this Mr. Axtell in charge of the building department? And I'd like a complete answer on that. Is he the guy running the building department? That's what I want to know. Who's the head honcho on the building department? Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Senstock, 31698, San Juan. I'm repetitive on that so everybody knows exactly where I live, but I'm going to be repetitive on my discussion here again. The fact of the matter is the contract does not require a step increase. The fact of the matter is that you guys have been spending money like it's running through a water faucet, not leaking, running through a water faucet. The fact of the matter is that it's going to be in the water and sewer department, so if you in fact put it in the water and sewer department, you can go ahead and automatically just charge the people more money. You don't have to go out for a vote of the people. You don't have to do anything. Just next year, we'll get a 9% increase from the Detroit Water and Sewer, and we'll get another increase for the fact that administrative costs went up. And we don't get any tax revenue for the water and sewer department. It's all funded by the water rates. The real question is, this says a salary of $86,000 to $89,000. $3,000 roughly, $3,900 actually. And is that all that's going to be, you're going to come for Mr. Axtell? After all, he does also had the building department. So now we'll do, well, we can fund $3,900 in the water and sewer department, and oh, by the way, he also handles the building department. And geez, I don't know if they have step increases for that building department, gentlemen, or not, but I'll venture to guess I'm going to see that on the agenda in the next few months to give him a raise in that department too. And everybody will conveniently forget about the water and sewer money. Again, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but I hope the people are listening. If you want to stop this kind of wasteful government spending, basically vote for the people in November that didn't allow it. And in this particular case, I'll also ask for a roll call vote so the residents can clearly identify who's been voting for these raises. Clearly identify it. because they're gonna clearly identify it when they vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, we'll close the floor for public comment and move back to board comment. There was a question asked, who's running the building department, or does Mr. Axtell have oversight over the building department? This would be one position where Mr. Axtell's salary falls primarily in the water and sewer, but a portion of his salary is funded by the building department because he does have managerial oversight of the building department. To say that he's running the building department, historically, that's been a joint, over the last couple of years, a joint assignment between Mr. Axtell and the building official, which, as you know, our building official left, and the next item on the agenda is to replace the building official. So I'd be hesitant to say Mr. Axtell runs the building department in a sole sense, although currently he is, because the building official position is open. And would there be a future raise from the building department budget? No, this is a step which is a defined position in the contract. The only time we would be bringing this back before anybody on this board would presumably be a year from now. I certainly can't guarantee that Mr. Axtell's review will be positive, but I would be surprised if it was anything other than positive a year from now. And if those are positive reviews, then for the fourth or for the third and final time, I'd be bringing back before this board a step increase if I'm so fortunate to be reelected in November. But between now and then, I don't know of any way which whether we wanted to or not, which we could contractually give a raise, because in essence, that would be bargaining outside of the contract, which is certainly, I don't need Mr. Huth's opinion to know we're not allowed to do that. And I'm okay with a roll call. I don't know if there are any other board comments.
Mr. Supervisor, again, I feel the same way, although I would like to say that I think Mr. Axtell has added a lot, so much value to our water and sewer and building department. I think he deserves this. I cannot speak highly enough about him, but again, my thought is the step increase across the board is still too high. And I just want to, again, thank Mr. Axtell for everything he's delivered, the value he's given us, streamlining and saving money. And I would always respect that man. Thank you.
Sure, and that's a good point. I don't want to speak for any board member, but I'm not hearing anything from any board member or resident, for that matter, that this is personal to the individuals in the position. It's rather more a matter of principle or what someone might perceive as the appropriate way to manage a department. And I can say this language that has step increases is definitely not unique to this contract or to this township. I would say that, on the contrary, it would be probably next to impossible to find a municipal contract or a school contract that doesn't have step increases in it. And the vast majority of those step increases occur automatically. But because these are management personnel, at some point in the past, prior boards negotiated in the language